Today's painting is another assignment, a themed art show, the last one of the year. And there were two major parameters. The first one is the theme is winter solstice. It had to be related to winter solstice. And the second one is it had to be square, no bigger than 12 by 12 inches, and it had to be 1.5 inches deep. So I had to work with a wood panel this time. And I'm just going to paint on paper and then glue it and wax it. And when I considered winter solstice, I thought about darkness and cold, which made me think about the garter snake we saw on a path once, laying in a patch of sunlight, and it was very cold to the touch. It was barely moving at all, and once it warmed up, it kind of slithered away, and I spent the rest of the walk kind of worrying, like, I hope that snake finds a hole to hibernate in. And so that was the theme of the painting. I was going to draw the snake as if he had found his hole and is settling in for a long winter's rest. The problem with my painting is that I didn't have a very good vision in my mind for what it was going to look like. I knew that I wanted just to practice painting a snake, and I wanted it to be underground in a hole, but like, how does one depict underground in a hole? Maybe thinking like a cross section, so you'd see all these layers of dirt, but then that's kind of ugly or boring, right? What dirt would look like. And so I decided to take it a little bit more abstract. I thought about just using watercolor patterns and keeping it to kind of like a bluish, brownish, kind of cold tone palette. And I gotta tell you, when you go into something without a clear vision, it gets a little stressful, especially when I'm trying to create something that's going to be judged, it's going to be seen. All these pressures start kind of coming from the outside, even if they're just imagined. And one thing that I've noticed in the past, the more tense or stressed that I feel, the worse that I will do. Naturally, the work kind of suffers. There were so many times that I thought I should quit. I should not waste this beautiful wood panel that I will not be able to reuse because I will have covered it with wax. From the depths, it's all like, ooh, but you know, you're doing this to introduce your art to a new crowd, and they're not going to see a proper representation of what your art looks like. And you know, what if people don't like snakes? What if they're grossed out by snakes? Flooded with all of these thoughts while I'm trying to relax and not screw this up. And so I was just constantly kind of making a choice whether or not to keep going. And just as an aside, as a kind of personal catch-up, that's really apt to this time of year. I'm always thinking at the end of every year, what should I be doing next? And I think it's just the flow of the year. In summer, there's so many activities and good weather events, social things to go to. And then in autumn, we really ramp up the craft fairs, art shows, and stuff like that. So it's just very busy. And so at the end of the year, I keep thinking after this weekend, for example, the entire future kind of stretches out in front of me as there's never really anything planned. The whole world, well, not tax people, but for a lot of people, beginning of a year is a long season of darkness and rest. But on the other hand, I'm kind of looking forward. There's at least 2 booklets that I would love to make. There have been a lot of like digital back burner projects that I've been wanting to do. Maybe some kind of like proper planned out video. People keep asking me if I'm willing to do teaching, and I keep saying no. I'm wondering if I should like re-examine some things. So back to this painting. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't think that it was actually going to go anywhere. I put faith or maybe apathy when I permanently stuck these papers to the wood, this beautiful wood panel. And another detail that I think is kind of interesting maybe is that every time I use these colors, this like deep phthalo blue, browns and stuff like that, cold colors, I don't like them. When other people use them, I love it. So I'm really curious to know if any of you have a certain color palette that you like to see but hate to use, and whether or not something like that means anything. What could it mean? I hated it, and the only thing that changed my mind about this painting was when I painted the sides black and added some little gold stars to make it look like the night sky. For some reason, that just did it for me. So it's just really interesting how I can just fight and fight and fight and fight through something, and then something just like clicks, and then it becomes okay. It's still not my favorite painting, but I didn't quit on it, because there was not a single time during the process that I liked what was happening. And that's just not knowing if you're going in the right direction until you've already gotten through it. So to me, this painting kind of demonstrates that for some things, it isn't over until it's really over. Oh, I also wanted to do a quick thank you to everyone who has come out to an event recently, bought a painting, was a patron for any length of time, interacted with my posts, like anything at all. This past couple of weeks has been a fun little whirlwind of positivity that I needed and will definitely draw from in the next little while. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.